O Spirit of life, nature's majesty, loving Creator, may my words be acceptable and edifying. So be it. Brothers and sisters, in the name of the Spirit of life, peace, love, and joy from my heart to yours. So be it. I'd like to say thank you before I begin again this morning to Peter, the worship committee, the entire church. It is truly an honor and a privilege anytime I get to speak in front of you, and I appreciate it very much. Not too long ago, I audited a class on African American religious history. In that class, I read a book about the lives of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. One of my assignments was to watch Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech and write a short paper on it. So I watched it, and I thought while I was watching it, a lot of the things he said are still applicable in many ways today. And so I rewrote it, kind of looking through the lens of 2026. So today, I'd like to share with you my revision of that speech. It is the speech itself, and at times intermixed with commentary as well. So I don't have Martin Luther King Jr.'s baritone voice, but here goes. I am happy to share with you today a revision of a speech that went down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 70 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we toil today shared a dream in the literal shadow of another great American who signed the Emancipation Proclamation. That momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of black slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the African American still was not free. Today, they are freer, but still fall short of being as free as their fellow white Americans. The life of the African American is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. Many still live on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. We have today an administration that claims to be the voice of the Christian, one that claims there is a renewal of faith, and that is a good thing. Yet, quietly and covertly, they languish the black man and woman in the corners of their minds, turning back DEI efforts, erasing the ugliness and truth of slave history, even rewriting it as a positive thing for black slaves. Black slaves that were ripped from their African homelands, often being separated from their family for the rest of their lives, and brought to the Americas. As a result, the African American finds himself in many ways as an exile in his own land. And so I preach today about a shameful condition. Many blacks still are waiting to cash a check. When the builders of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. That note was a promise that all persons, black as well as white, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and happiness. It is obvious today that America defaulted on that promissory note insofar as her citizens of color or of different nationalities are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given them a bad check, which has came back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. And so many African Americans in slums, in underfunded schools, and who have experienced police brutality still ask to cash this check, a check that will give them upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. King came to that hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. I say now that there is still work to do. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of hatred to the sunlit path of justice and love. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksand of divisiveness to the solid rock of brotherhood. The time is overdue to make justice a reality for all God's children. King reminded us then that it would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. I say the same today. This sweltering summer of the black person's legitimate discontent will not pass until there is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 was not an end, but a beginning. And those who say that 2026 is different have seen that the black man needed to blow off steam and would not be content. They have had a rude awakening in cities where our nation has shown signs of returning to business as usual. Cities like Detroit, Baltimore, Ferguson, Missouri. And there will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until all persons, black and otherwise, are granted full citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges once and for all. King believed wholeheartedly that justice was an absolute cure for riots. It's time to listen and learn from his wisdom. Don't get it twisted. Don't judge all black persons by the acts of a frustrated few. King told his people that in the process of gaining their rightful place, they must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. He said, "Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred." King also mused that when he asked rioters why they were happy after they rioted, they did not say, "We got even." They did not say, "We stole some goods." They were content that they were simply heard. In his I Have a Dream speech, King encouraged his listeners with the words, "We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protests to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force." King stated that a civilization can flounder as readily in the face of moral and spiritual bankruptcy as it can through financial bankruptcy. Yet King's peaceful soul force was often met with unearned brutality. The militancy which has engulfed the African American community must not lead to a distrust of all white people, he reminded his audience. For many whites, as evidenced by their presence that day, came to realize that their destiny was tied up with the black person's destiny. And it still is. They came in 1963 realizing that their freedom was inextricably bound to black freedom. 250,000. 250,000 souls marched on Washington, D.C. that day. 100,000 of them were white. Today, we must continue to walk, work, march, show up, and protest together. And as we do, we must make the pledge that we shall always move ahead to progress. We cannot turn back. I hear people today say, "When will African Americans be satisfied?" They can never be satisfied as long as they are the victims of police brutality. They can never be satisfied while black parents have to teach their precious black children how to conduct themselves during a routine traffic stop. They can never be satisfied while their children are stripped of their dignity simply because of the color of their skin. No, they will not be satisfied until, like King said, justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Let us not be forgetful of the great trials and tribulations of African Americans both today and in the past. When our jails are disproportionately occupied by persons of color, and when low-income black persons are represented by overworked and underpaid public defenders, they rightly cannot and will not be satisfied. Some who came on that day in 1963 came from areas where their quest for freedom left them battered by the storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality. They had been the veterans of creative suffering. King encouraged them to continue to work with the faith that unearned suffering is redemptive. The same is true today. He heartened them to go back to Mississippi, to Alabama, to South Carolina, to Georgia, to Louisiana, back to the slums and ghettos of their northern cities, knowing that somehow this situation could and would be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair, King encouraged them. And so even though the black person suffered, King still had a dream. It was a dream deeply rooted in the American dream, a dream he deeply believed and had faith in. He dreamed that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all persons are created equal. America has moved in that direction, but in the name of making America great again, in the name of moving backwards, she has stumbled. The very persons who claim to love their country wish for this. Instead of progression, they want regression. Instead of wanting to continue in the great potential of our country and its diversity, they want to move back to a time of bitterness and hatred. As King did in 1963, I have a dream today. I dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the descendants of former slaves and the descendants of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood, realizing they share the same spirits that came from their Creator. I have a dream that one day in the halls of all homes and churches, men and women of all colors, creeds, and nationalities will be seen as sisters and brothers. Like King, I dream that the sweltering heats of oppression will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. Like King, I have a dream that my children will one day live in a nation where people are not judged by the color of their skin, their faith, how they identify, or who they love, but by the content of their character. As Dr. King had then, I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day the people that promote an anti-DEI agenda, their lips dripping with hatred and antiquated values, will come to realize that all persons, red, yellow, black, and white, when they're allowed to contribute to our society, make it a better place. For us to be our best, we must all join hands as sisters and brothers. Like King, I too have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of love and the spirit of life shall be revealed, and all flesh shall perceive it together. Let this be our hope and vision that leads our actions and our daily lives. With this goal, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this hope, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that all Americans will be free one day. And this will be the day when all of the children of their Creator will be able to recite with new meaning, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Not some, but all. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. We will not make America great again by going back. As King said, a great nation is a compassionate one. This nation is far from compassionate. It is hateful, it is vengeful, it is warmongering, and it believes in an eye for an eye, not in forgiveness, and not in reforming wrongdoers and giving them another chance, not in turning the other cheek. It's our responsibility to change that. And so let love flow from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let equality exist from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let love flow from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let equality exist in the Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let love flow from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from Fernandina Beach to Jacksonville Beach. From every mountainside, every forest, and every bustling city, let freedom ring. If this happens, if we can truly love our fellow human being, when we let love flow from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of the Creator's children, of all colors, of all faiths or lack thereof, of all identities, no matter who they love or the color of their skin, will be able to join hands in singing the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank the Spirit of life, we are free at last. Blessed be.